Hello, you, and a happy new year. We are back with the first show of 2023, and we've got loads to celebrate right now because the Digital Nomad Visa for Spain is finally here. Well, almost here, but we've got the rules. We'll talk about that in a minute. And I'll be joined on the virtual settee shortly by our best mate, Visa and Residency Specialist, Chris from Upsticks.es, to answer all of your questions and try to unravel the legal jargon around it. We'll also be telling you the news about the eco stickers that cars in Spain will need, and we'll be announcing the 2023 figures for IPREM, so you'll know how much you need to qualify for your visa. That's the financial requirement. And you must absolutely stick around until the end. There's always something that you need to know. In the meantime, though, gather round. It's time for our small but perfectly formed cosmic theme tune. So let's do the New Year dance. Here it comes. Excellent. So before I bring in Chris, two very quick pieces of important information for you all. Check out our really helpful website, YouTooSpain.com, for more amazing information, blog articles and resources just for you. There's a free newsletter every month too. And the second piece of information, you can help YouTooSpain to keep providing you with the really helpful and valuable things that you learn every week on this channel by using any of the links in the video description below. Not only can you get discounts on vital services that you need for your move to Spain and for your life here, but these tried and trusted companies are part of our wonderful YouTooSpain community. They're all lovely and they contribute back to us every time you use the links. That's what keeps this channel buzzing and alive. And I'd like to give a special mention, as usual, to Smart Currency Exchange. Sign up with them to get free advice from your own personal broker. And you also get 24-hour app and a whole range of excellent services. It's especially important to get your finances sorted out early on. But whatever stage you're at, you can benefit from being part of our extended family, and you'll be supporting YouTooSpain at no expense to you. It's a win-win. If you want to find out why I recommend using a broker, and this one in particular, watch the video I made about it last Wednesday. So without further ado, let's meet our wonderful guest. It's Chris from Upsticks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How you doing?
I'm great, yes. Recovering from the Three Kings Day. Did you get did you get Three Kings come and give you presents?
Yes, yeah, we did. Yeah, we had the Three Kings evening here in Alarin, where usual getting pelted by like really hard sweets and it was good.
It's great. I saw pictures of the parades in Granada and Malaga. They're huge there.
Yeah, I mean they're massive. It seems to get bigger every year. I mean, even as I've never been to the Malaga one, but the one here in Alarin, I think they have the main one which we went to see, but they also have like 5 round the barrios, the areas.
Uh-huh.
So it goes on for quite a while. And we're a town of 45,000, believe it or not. So they have like 6 different parades depending on which area you're in and which neighbours associations there. So it gets bigger every year.
That's brilliant. Yeah. I don't think there's any village in the whole country that doesn't have a parade, and they're all quite big, even if you're in a tiny village.
Yeah, no, it's a good evening and a nice little freebie day off as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I'm just going to do a shout out before you give any shout outs if you have any. We had a message yesterday from Glyn James and his wife Simone. There it is on the YouTooSpain community. Their journey begins tonight. They said this was actually last night. So they were, as he sent that message, they were waiting at the ferry terminal in Portsmouth for their journey to Santander. They arrive on Sunday morning, so that's quite a journey. Then they've got to drive to Almeria to start their new life and adventure. Thanks to me and all of the group on YouTube for help and advice from Glyn and Simone. That's lovely.
Right, we're speaking to them next week then.
Yeah, perfect. There you go. Have you got any shout outs?
No, I just want to say thank you everybody for 2022. It was really, we really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic year. We had we really enjoyed being on the channel. Clients have been amazing, and we're looking forward to 2023. A lot more on the horizon. I mean, it's been a bit of a journey. If you look at the 12 months between now, what we did 12 months ago until now, what we talk about, it's changed an awful lot, hasn't it? You know, even non-lucrative visas, they've changed the requirements and stuff. So it's been really nice to for people to be on that journey with us.
Yeah, and we're at the stage now where lots of people are doing renewals as well after the first year, aren't we?
You've got lots of renewals going through as well. And even then, you know, even during the renewal process, we're seeing tightening of the requirements and the differences, which, I mean, we're going to talk about today, obviously with the new visa, but the differences between the provinces is shocking, you know, sometimes, you know, on what they request, you know. So as we know, on all immigration platforms, the consulates all ask for different things that relate to the same law, and the extranjerias and different places ask for different things depending on where you go. Yeah,
that's Spain for you. So let's cover the first one of these changes, the IPREM. So what's the, of course, the figure goes up every year. So what's the figure for this year?
Well, it didn't actually go up every year. It stayed the same for a while, actually. A couple of years ago, I think it was 4 years, it didn't move. But evidently this year, we knew it was going to go up. The economic situation, is obviously inflation's gone up. So IPREM, which not only relates to visas, that's quite secondary actually to IPREM. It relates to other things, how Spanish nationals and people get paid here in Spain. That's used as a base rate for things like pensions and certain dole payments, as you want to call them, or whatever. So it's quite obvious it was going to go up, and they said they were going to put it up to a round number, and they have. So they put it up to 600, which is quite a big hike actually, in terms of the historic way it's gone up, but quite rightly so. Honest, people need the money in the back pocket, and it's part of Sanchez's way of getting money in people's pockets. So, you know, the only thing is that relates to the visas, and that means that the minimum financial requirements for the visas has now gone up. Yeah,
so it's 600 a month in euros.
Yeah,
and so 400% of that is 28,800. I've got
that's right. So 600 times 12 and then times 4. So it basically puts, if you were to round it up, it puts you up now to 29,000 euros for an individual NLV. And I'm not going to lie, today I've written notes. Yay, 2023. This is my new resolution.
Yes, new sense of professionalism throughout the whole channel. Here we go.
Instead of just turning up and going, let's talk, I'm actually going to write some notes. And it puts a couple up to 36,000 euros. So,
yeah, that's an exact one. That's without rounding up. So
yeah, it's without rounding up. So which obviously then also puts the renewals up for this year as well.
Great stuff. Anything else we need to say about that? That's just a straight figure that we need to give, isn't it?
That's a straight figure. You know, it's something that was not on anybody's radar, you know, before Brexit, but now it is. Because, you know, will it go up again next year? We don't know. You know, if the inflation continues to soar, then it probably will.
And from what we've seen on the news, they think inflation is going to go up for a bit longer, and then it'll peak halfway through 2023, apparently, and then it'll go back down again. But I don't know whether that's just a vain hope or whether that's what will happen. I don't think they can ever completely predict it.
No. I think I'll be honest, I think with the current government we've got in power, and I think if it does continue this year how we continued last year, then it would probably go up again slightly next year as well.
Good. So, well, that's not good, but you know, good that we've covered that point. So, eco car stickers. So these have this has been kind of in place in Madrid and Barcelona for a while, hasn't it? There's emission zones already, but it's coming into place gradually in lots of cities. It's not in Malaga yet, is it?
No. So I think Malaga said they're going to introduce it by the end of the year. I think it was that we saw. But the law's tightened slightly. So, Valencia, Madrid. Madrid had a really complicated sort of eco sticker system. Depending on what M road you're going on, you can use whatever. In some places you can park if you're resident. If you're non-resident, you can't park or whatever. So I think the first thing to say is, like, don't panic. So the laws came in that all towns or cities, should we say, of over 50,000 people have to now move towards having a eco-friendly, should we say, centre, a centro urbano, urban centre, right? Which means banning certain high-emission cars. And the way they control that is by these stickers in the window. They look very much like the old tax discs. Remember when you get them?
Yeah.
The stickers, you can get them directly from the DGT, or, to be honest with you, there's a really easy way to order them from the post office online. So that's easy. And it really affects cars with the B type sticker. So cars which have a B, which are, I think it's diesels which were matriculated before 2011 or 2010. I haven't got that one.
Yeah, I think so.
And petrol cars from earlier than that are going to be banned from going into certain areas of certain towns. So,
Good stuff.
I mean, what's happened with the law is they're basically now, like all these things, the law's been published. Now it's up to the town halls of those towns to implement it, and they've got a certain amount of time to do so. So obviously, if you're planning on going to Valencia, Barcelona, or Madrid, well, you need to check out their website and find out what areas are affected. And if you are planning on going somewhere, which is a big city, over 50,000 people, just A, get your sticker, and B, check what the restrictions are before you go, because no doubt they're going to be updating them during the year.
There you go. And we'll do a more complete show about eco car stickers, and also about various other, about registering your car in Spain, I think in 2 weeks' time, won't we, Chris?
Yeah, I think we'll do it. We'll do a sort of a car catch up. What you need to do, what you need to look at during the year, the eco stickers, tax, registering, etc.
Brilliant. Okay, I forgot to do shout outs to people on the live stream. So Anton Cares saying Happy New Year, Feliz Año Nuevo to my family and to yours, Chris, from sunny Huelva. They're still in Huelva and they're watching live as they're not driving today, so that's good. Hi guys. And
it was lovely to meet them this Christmas. It was nice.
It was, yes. I've just recovered from the hangover. It was lovely. We had a great meal. And Happy New Year from Yogi. And he's saying, is that your villa in the background, Skatz? No, this is just a stock photograph. And so morning all from, hello Stockholm. Is that before or after tax? I presume that's the IPREM you're talking about. It would be after tax, wouldn't it? It's just the money that you need to have available. So yeah, it would be after tax. Yogi says, when will the new Digital Nomad Visa come into effect from? Very good question. Let's answer that one now.
Okay. Yeah, so the law has been passed for the Digital Nomad Visa, which we have here. That is all I know. But the authorities have until the end of March to basically update all their systems to be able to apply for it. So you can't actually apply at the moment. So I know we're going to go through all this now, but it's important to note that, like with all laws that they talk about with immigration, and this in particular, which is the international mobility, they put stuff on paper, they approve it, and then it's down to the individual authorities who have to authorize these things to get their act together and there's more information.
Yeah, and of course they've got lots and lots of forms that they have to create, and they have to add to the old forms, so they can put a little tick box saying this is the new visa that you're applying for. So it might be the end of March, or I don't know how long it's going to take them to do get all the paperwork in place after that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, they're saying the end of March. It says they've got until the 31st of March, but don't forget that also these things can have extensions. Typically, fancy releasing this at Christmas. I mean, talk about headache. So literally just opening the first bottle of wine for Christmas, and Jane, who works with me, says, "Oh, look at this." I went, "No." But yeah, so I think there's a lot of people and a lot of authorities that probably haven't even looked at it until after King's.
Yeah. Patrick Perkins says, morning to both of us. Happy New Year from himself and his wife, Rose Marie. Yes, Happy New Year to you. They start their new life in Spain next Wednesday. Oh, brilliant. Everybody's moving. And,
don't forget your entry stamp, Patrick. Don't forget your entry stamp. We're going to need that when you get here.
yeah, the same to Glenn and Simone. Don't forget to get your entry stamp when you arrive at Santander, when you go through Spanish customs. There you go. And Yogi's saying, are digital nomad visas specific to particular regions or towns?
That's Spain. It's Spain, but as we've seen in the preamble and the explanation, what we've seen is apart from obviously the digital nomad visa is just part of the update, but what we've seen is they really are trying to encourage remote workers in rural areas as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's towns like the fantastic Compter, which I've managed to visit finally, which is thriving with an expat community and beautiful. But there's other towns which aren't as lucky, and the young people are leaving, abandoning the towns. And one of the big focuses of this update to the international mobility law is to try and get people into those areas, because believe it or not, we actually have really good broadband here in Spain which reach these areas. So just getting people to go and use it.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Shall we answer before we go into the questions that I have, the basic questions about the new visa? Let's answer Lynn Hall's question, because I think you're here with us, aren't you, Lynn? You said you were going to tune in straight away. So this is an interesting question. Let's put it up on there so that everybody can see it. Here we go. There it goes. So basically, they're based in the UK citizens. They've got enough money to qualify for the non-lucrative visa for both of them with his pension, but she wants to keep working for her new limited company in the UK. Will the ND, that's presumably digital nomad backwards, take his pension pot into consideration when looking at how much she needs to earn? Will it reduce her income requirement?
No, I don't believe it will, because it's two different platforms, two different applications. So
I think you need to prove that your business is earning a certain amount. I don't know what. I think it's going to be at least 2,000 a month, something like that.
Yeah, talking about the minimums into professional salary, aren't they, at the moment? But obviously, depending on how she's set up. So if you look at a company, albeit it's your company, if it's a limited company, is considered an individual entity. So if you may be contracted by that company, or would you be self-employed and invoice that company? This is where a lot of these smaller structures are going to have to be looked at in quite detail. Mm-hmm. So we always consider that so she's working for the limited company, which I'm assuming under contract, which means the company, well, we're going to go through this now, aren't we? The company must have existed for a year, and the contract has been in place for more than 3 months, but the pension pot won't come into play with that, I don't think.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we'll go more into that in a minute when we come to those questions. And Hello Stockholm has asked this question. This is a tax question, really, and I think we'll avoid tax questions for today. I have got a tax dude coming on in about 3 weeks, I think. So we'll move to that later. There's going to be some interesting variations on what different taxes people will pay, and we can't answer that at the moment because we're not qualified, really.
No, there's I mean, obviously there's a lot of talk about the digital nomads being able to pay non-residence tax, the Model 210, which it'd be really interesting to see, because obviously there's going to be a lot of cross-border tax situations, whereas when we're dealing with other visa and residency situations, you're talking about a migration of your tax situation, and you've got like the old period, the migration, and what your new period looks like. That's basically how it is, and that's how tax advisors would do it, I suppose. But then you've got things like double taxation treating where people are coming from, because I'm sure even if digital nomads are coming from the States, it's going to be a completely different situation if they're coming from the UK.
Yeah, definitely. Just one more quick question from social media then, before we get stuck into the other questions. This is a basic one with a very quick answer. Sarah Gibbons, who I think is online with us on the live chat. She's looking forward to looking forward to the Digital Nomad Visa. She's basically asking, can they come over to Spain on holiday and work remotely without the visa, just as part of the 9180 rule?
You shouldn't really be working when you're on holiday here, but as we said before, how they control that if you're just working under 9180 and if you're sticking within the rules and you've got no obligation to apply for a visa or residency, and you're on your laptop, then yeah, in theory, no, you shouldn't be working. But
yeah, but there are probably lots who are doing it.
Yeah,
we'll say officially no.
Who answers their work emails on holiday? Let's be honest. Who answers their work emails? Now, if you come over and you set up a shop and start selling things out, you're going to get arrested, taken away. No, you're not going to go quite do that. You can't do that, no. But can you answer a few work emails when you're on holiday? It's a tough question to answer. Well, everybody does that, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if their wife tells them not to. There you go.
Yeah.
Right, let's go into the questions before we answer any more of the live chat ones. So yeah, I'm reading your questions and comments on there. We'll drop in and out of the live chat. So let's go to the basic questions. Who can apply for the Digital Nomad Visa?
I'm allowed to write my notes now because I have written notes.
Yeah, you can look
very
at
new. Who can apply? Well, basically, the law states that any third country national who can prove that they work remotely for themselves or for a company on an employment basis or self-employment basis can apply. Obviously, there's more questions down the line which explain the parameters of that, aren't they? So, if you're European, you can't apply, but if you're a third country national who qualifies, you can apply.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're an EU national with an EU passport, you wouldn't need it anyway. So
you wouldn't need it.
Yeah. So, can you? Good question. Can you just set up an online business and be eligible?
You can't, though. There's a lot stricter parameters than that. Unfortunately, setting up a business and saying, "Yeah, I work online. Can I come over?" You can't just do that. There's again, I think we talk about this further down. But if you there's a longevity in the time that the business has to be registered and your relationship with that business. I think when you read, it's very important that when you read through the details on the law that they're sent, it's very focused towards people who are working for other people, not for people who are working for their own companies. You know, so albeit those structures are going to be available to set up, you know, we're not going to know how they're going to control that until more information is published. So, you know, things like, will they look at the directorship of limited companies? So, i.e., can the director be the same person that's employed by that company? You know, are they going to allow that?
Yes, that's going to be interesting to Lynn Hall, who's saying yes, it's her company and it's a limited company. So we don't know yet is the short answer to that, Lynn.
No, I mean, we've seen this with the non-lucrative visas. We've seen problems where you can imagine that someone is claiming passive income from a limited company, but they're the sole director of that limited company. Well, for a non-lucrative visa, that is a red flag that they're actually still working. Whereas if you've got a company with 42 employees, a different director, and you're taking dividends from that company, it looks like you've built it up and now you're picking it back and handed it to someone else to do the work, you know. So these are the kind of questions which hopefully are going to be answered when more information comes out.
Yeah, Linda just said, yes, definitely. I might need to retire age 44, presumably as the director of the company, and then you can work for it. And then you'd be fine. But yeah, we'll find out when the proper rules and regulations are set up. There we go.
Yeah. But you would expect, if you look now on a positive note, when you look at the preamble law and you see about how much they're trying to get investment into rural areas and stuff as well, you know, and what they're trying to do, you'd expect that maybe it might be an option. You know, you don't know which way it's going to go, but I would hope as long as the financials are correct, which is a big thing on the international mobility residency platforms, that it would be an option. What's stopping you from, there's nothing stopping you from setting up your own company. So let's hope it goes that way, and there's no silly requirements like there has to be 15 directors and 42 workers or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a combination of they're eager to get people in now on this because they've been working on it for a while. But of course, Spain bureaucracy means there will probably be lots and lots of, it's going to be like navigating a maze with some of you who have your own companies and things like that.
Yeah, as we say that. So the government have passed the law, but let's see how the administrative authorities want to control it,
Yeah. So let's say you're employed by a company. Can it be a Spanish company?
No, so if you're employed, it has to be a company which is outside of Spain, okay, which is, I did actually answer these using the article. I sat last night and went through all of this, and went, oh, actually, no, that relates to Article 8, but I didn't do it in English, so there's no point saying it. But no, if you are employed, then you have to be employed by a company outside of Spain if you've got a work contract.
And what about if you're self-employed? Can you get some of your work from in Spain?
Yes, you can get 20% of your work and no more from in Spain. So 80% of your work has to be from outside of Spain, which I presume they're going to control using facturas. Yeah, so facturas is invoices. In Spain, so that would be controlled, I'd say, using that. How you prove that before you get the visa, who knows yet.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. They'll publish different things in different regions about what they regard as being the evidence you'll need. So, and the same with my next question: do you need any qualifications? What are they going to ask you for?
Yeah, so they're asking for professional qualifications. So it's professional qualifications which accredit postgraduates, university, etc., or individual professional qualifications which relate to your industry, or 3 years professional experience, which I assume would be something that's written off by the company that you're working for.
Yes. So that's going to be interesting. It's got to be an accredited company, hasn't it? And you're going to need
Yes, it has.
Evidence.
Yeah, it's got to be accredited company. So it goes back to that initial question where, say, can you just set up a company and say I'm going to be selling, boogie boogies online? But you can't. I think it's going to be a little bit more in depth in terms of the qualifications and how they recognise those qualifications. So. We definitely assume that if there's a qualification, you'd probably have to have something legally translated or maybe even notarized. We don't know yet.
Yeah. So above all, what they want to know is that you've got a business or you're working for a business that is definitely going to keep bringing you the money in, because you're going to have to prove financial requirements. You're going to have to prove how much you're earning from your business. To make sure that
the law is to bring investment into Spain, not just people who are going to. It is called the startup law. It's a startup law, but it's also intended on making sure that investment and professionals come into Spain. It's a massive leap by Spain. It's great, really. I'm sure there's going to be every administrative obstacles stuck in our path, but at least we are going that way. They're looking to the future of this, and it's good, but yeah, there are going to be strict requirements.
My next question, I think we've answered it, we don't know yet, but what kind of proof do you think that people will need to show that your employer is allowing you to work remotely and that your job allows you to do that?
So I think, we've spoken about the qualifications, haven't we? And we've spoken about the length of time that you need to prove. So the company has to be in existence for a certain amount of time, and then the 3 months. I think work contracts. Now, obviously, if you're coming on a work contract basis, again, this is going to really depend on where you're coming from, because obviously here in Spain, we have all our work contracts are registered with the Social Security, and we get like an official model, basically of what the work contract looks like, etc., etc. So someone who's on the chat might be able to answer this, because I honestly don't know. I can't remember from my time working in the UK. You might know, Skatz. The work contract in the UK, does that have to be registered with an official body and have official stamp on it?
That's interesting. Long time since I've been in the UK, so and I don't even know for Ireland because I was self-employed. So we'll have to ask somebody else about that.
So exactly. So going on to the self-employed. So in Spain, we've got to remember that when you're preparing paperwork for any sort of residency application, which will include this visa, you have to try and relate it back to something that somebody knows in Spain. Yeah. So a lot of the times when we're doing things like proving actual balances in foreign accounts, we have here in Spain a document which is called a Certificado de Saldo Actual, right? So say we've got a summit equivalent from the NatWest, we have it translated. When we're doing a renewal, we write a letter to say this is the equivalent to XYZ. Yeah. So I'm assuming that when they're coming to talk about work contracts, they have a state it was registered and started with the Social Security here in Spain, the same as the self-employed people, as you very well know. You do the alta, self-employed, don't you? Which and then that will have a start date, and that's registered with Hacienda and the Social Security. So whatever the equivalent of that is in the country of origin, whether it be, I don't know if it's the IRS in the States or whether it's a tax office in the UK government or whatever, I don't know, is what I assume you would have to prove. So where it's registered officially with that body, and then evidently if that document is in English, it would have to be legally translated. That's what we do. Whether it has to be legalized or not yet, we don't know.
Yeah, Emma Gadsby's just said my work contract has no official stamp at all, just signed by the director. So,
but then maybe maybe that's you need then just some sort of proof of who the director is. So, for example, here in Spain, if it's a sociedad limitada, then you have the NIF document, you have proof of the constitution of the company and stuff like that. So it might be something along those lines that you have to have with your work contract. As I say, it's all we don't know yet, because they might just say, oh, you just need the official letter notarized and translated, but we're trying to think what it would look like relating back to Spanish documents.
Yeah, and of course we will do another show when we know more, as it gets towards the end of March or just afterwards, and we'll have any more information for you. Tony Carlos, by the way, good morning, gents, he says on the live chat. One interesting one from Lee Warburton before we go to the next question. Reading the law, it's aimed at teleworkers. It does say, it does translate to teleworkers. Could I undertake a business development role with the visa whereby I would not only work from home, but would travel throughout the EU? 9180. Well, you wouldn't need 9180 if you had the visa.
So you'd be working remotely, but you'd have to make work trips out of Spain. If your base was in, again, don't know. It's one of those. If it depends on if if you're based in Spain, you're a teleworker, you've got your visa, you have to abide by the requirements of the visa. Now, if you're having to go to a meeting in Germany, because that's your work dictates that, and I wouldn't see that would be a problem. Now, if you're going to go and park yourself in Germany for 3 months having a visa in Spain, then that might be different.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Allow you to telework around the EU, but again, it goes back to what we were saying before. Do you answer your emails on holiday? Well, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Lee. And thank you for that. So let's move on. So from what I've read, it looks like companies employing you need to show that they're legitimate and that they've existed for at least a year. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So basically they need to prove, again, we don't know what that proof's going to look like, but I'm sure it's going to be either tax returns or the constitution documents of the company.
Yeah, I suspect tax documents are going to be very important for that. Yeah, and if and you need to have been working remotely for the company for 3 months before you apply. So just clarify that's right.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so there's looking in Spain. basically, you have to be able to prove that it says here, permite a trabajador realizar la actividad laboral a distancia. So you have to prove that you can remote work, and you have been.
Good. And that's the same basically if you're self-employed, only presumably you need to show evidence of at least 3 months of work from more than one company. I think they're not going to.
Yes, because if you're working for just one company, then essentially you're an employee, aren't you? It's like what we say here, falso autónomo, where people go autonomo but only invoice one person. You've got I don't know what the percentages are going to be yet of how you have to work for one, whether you can just work for two or whether you can work for three. There's between the companies as well. Again, it depends what. And if you are, I suppose it would be a good idea that if you are looking at this visa for this year or next year and you're getting yourself set up, to make sure that the agreements with the companies that you're going to be working with are documented, officially. So you do have contracts, albeit private, with them. Maybe you can get private documents notarized as well, can't you? So, things like SLAs, for example, so you've got a service level agreement with somebody, and you're working, then it might be worth making sure that that's worded correctly and aptly for this visa and legalised as well. So, in fact, I don't think it's going to cut the mustard just saying, I work for them all the time and they allow me to do it remotely. I think there's going to have to be more practical documents which prove that and why. So maybe you outsource, stuff.
Yeah, and you can't just suddenly start remote working for a company and just go, that's all fine. The company's got to have basically to show that you're all right doing that, and that it's possible to do the job like that as well.
I mean, this could really, with something I was discussing last night, my wife actually as well. This is really fallen into play after COVID, hasn't it? Because a lot of people haven't gone back to the office. So there's it's a whole different demographic that we were sat there chat, because we're always talking about maybe people who are going to create structures to try and take advantage of this visa. But there's also a whole group of people, and I know some personally as well, who now do 75% of their work online, whereas they were 100% in the office before, and they just haven't gone back. They'll go in just 1 day a week or something, and it's given them an option for a different lifestyle. So post-COVID world, where a lot of people haven't gone back, suddenly this would be type of visa would be ideal for somebody sat there in the UK and maybe goes, well, I'm stuck at home all the time, I might as well do it in a Spanish village.
Yeah, absolutely. Much more fun. So we were talking about the documentation that you need to show kind of terms and conditions of your working relationship. That was the service level agreement. That's that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, and whatever that would be, with the people that you work with. Basically, it's not something that is quite often when you have contracts with people. Here in Spain, it's not often something that's put in place, to be honest with you. But into Spain, but it is. I know, other countries are very strict between company to company contracts. So, and obviously making sure that the longevity of the contract meets the longevity of the residency that you're applying for. Because you don't want a contract that's going to, or it's renewable or something like that. The correct wording.
So, what's the period of the visa, the digital nomad visa?
So if you apply from the actual visa itself is 60 days. So it's 60 days. Sorry, I jumped to residency there. So it's so it says 60, and the law says it's 60 days, and if you intend to stay longer, then you must register for residency.
There you go. And that was going to be my next question. Do you need to apply for residency too?
Yes, you do. So there's obviously, we know with this, the good thing about this visa is because it's on the international mobility platform, you can apply either from your consulate. We don't know what the fees are going to be at the consulate. We know that other visas on that platform are extremely expensive, like the golden visa, the investor visa, that's up to €1,500, I think it is. But if you find yourself in a legal situation in Spain, i.e. you haven't overstayed your welcome here under the Schengen rules, or as long as you're legally within Spain and you meet the requirements, you can actually apply from Spain. Okay. So once you apply, if you apply through the consulate, you'd be given a visa in your passport. And if you applied in Spain, you would actually be given a resolución document, both of which have similar validity, apart from the fact that when you come to register those, if you apply from outside of Spain, you'll get a year. And if you apply from inside of Spain, you're going to get 3 years.
So how long does that residency last for? Is it just a 1 year, or is it 2 or 3? I saw 3 years on one thing.
Yeah, so the first one, if you apply outside of Spain, it's going to last for a year, or the period of which you are contracted for example, as a remote worker. And if you apply in Spain, it's going to last for 3 years. And then at the end of that period, you do your renewal, and the renewals are for 2 years after that. So,
yeah, interestingly, can you apply for permanent residency after that 5 years? This is debatable, isn't it?
Good question. In the preambulo, it does mention that on the second page of, I don't know, got so many bits of blooming paper here at the moment. I can't find it.
You're going to translate it as you go along.
Oh yes, page. I'll tell you now. Page. Here we go. Yeah, page 6, which is actually page 179,022. It mentions at the bottom there in the preambulo that you can get. It says it will be renewed for a period of 2 years after 3 years, pudiendo obtener la residencia permanente a los 5 años. So you can obtain permanent residency after 5 years, but it doesn't actually mention it in the law. So it's mentioned in the preamble, but it's not mentioned in the law.
Interesting. So we'll have to clarify that as it comes into law.
I'd say you'd be able to. I can't see why not. So if you were applying from outside of Spain, then you would do 1 year, 2 year, 2 years permanent, if we believe what the preamble says. And if you're applying from within Spain, you would do your 3 years, renew, and at the end of that, so it'd only be one renewal. If the preamble is correct.
Cool. Lee Warburton has just replied, just to clarify, he would be home-based in Spain. Contract would show a Spanish address as place of work, and attending work meetings throughout the EU, Germany, France, Italy, etc.
I think that'd be fine. That's, I can't see why you'd have a problem with that.
Yeah. I mean, presumably you'd be spending most of your time in Spain.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see. I suppose it's just like me being self-employed and going to a place in the Sun exhibition. I didn't have to get a contract there. I just, gave them all my paperwork and it was job done. But,
I guess there are going to be rules, just like for the non-lucrative visa, about how many days you can spend outside Spain before losing your... Yeah. So, you'd have to be careful about that, Lee, I suppose. There you go. So, Yogi's asking, what list of documents would we need for the Digital Nomad Visa? So I was just going to say, what are the requirements to apply?
So meeting the requirements that we've just spoken about. So going back to all residencies that we always talk about, it's what qualifies you first of all, isn't it? So you're going to have to meet one of these 2 qualification criteria, either as a worker or a self-employed person. And aside from that, you are going to need everything else which comes with a visa. So you're going to have to need, I'm pretty sure you're going to need to have your medical certificate, your healthcare insurance, your criminal records check, and you'll also have, there's also a criminal records check which is done internally by Spain to make sure that you haven't got any outstanding warrants for you. So you get your criminal records check from the country of origin, but you'll also get checked here in Spain. Yeah,
and you've got to show that you're not in Spain illegally. Yes. Presumably that'll come in the local checks.
Yeah, they'll come with the passport check. So that's again going back to the importance of passport stamps, is when you send. So when you say, for example, you apply for a golden visa here in Spain, which is the same platform as which we think we're going to be able to apply for the digital nomad visa. And when we do renewals for NLVs and stuff like that, if it's any third country national application, we have to send in a full recent copy of the passport. And that shows entry stamps and stuff. Obviously, the police have their, or they also have access to their own data of people coming in and out of the country. And when ETIAS comes into play, we might not have to do that because it'll all be controlled digitally. But yeah, that's how that's controlled, I'd say.
Yeah, and the only other document that you didn't mention there was financial means.
Yes.
So so that'll be bank account statements.
Yeah, and assuming if you're here in Spain, are they going to, if you're applying from Spain, are they going to request proof of where you're living first? Or can you do that afterwards? You shouldn't be on the padron about residency, but you need the padron sometimes to get residency. So, were they, especially now, this all relates back to now and trying to populate rural areas. So is that going to be a massive tick in the box? As I was chatting to Jane here the other day, and she was like, yeah, I think it's going to be a huge tick in the box. That if you turn around and say, I've just rented a house in a village of less than 2,000 people, is that going to work positively in your favour? Well, they do mention it in the laws.
Great stuff. Yogi's actually asking, what are the main differences between the Digital Nomad Visa and other resident visas, non-lucrative visa, for example? Well, the first one is you can work with this one.
Yeah. Personally, I mean, there's so many different visas, different platforms. Yeah, it'd be hard to answer that in the next 14 minutes. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is that there was never really a way for digital nomads from third countries to move to Spain if they didn't qualify, if they didn't get a self-employed visa and setting up a massive company, or if they work for somebody else. And this has sort of plugged that gap. Yeah, so there's a gap there that's been plugged for people who are working online and third country nationals. Obviously, the biggest difference between this and a non-lucrative visa is that you can work. The non-lucrative visa, you can't. And just to clarify that as well, before I get completely battered all over the internet, people saying I can't work remotely. For many years, a lot of the time, you'll see that people did work, especially from America, and managed to get renewals and stuff, and they used it as a way to work. But we've seen, certainly after Brexit, that the UK consulates are very, very, very strict on the fact that it is a visa for people who are not working and not going to work.
And that memo went round to the US consulates as well, I believe.
Oh, did it? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, to put it into context, we have had people who have had to get notarized documentation to prove that they would take care of their partners because they are of pension relation. The partner is still of working age. And I'm talking just a year off of pension age. So that's how strict they are with that now.
Good question from Dave Lane. Is it possible to convert our self-employed visa to this digital nomad? I would say, why would you want to if you've already got a visa and you're already here?
I mean, it says if you're residing legally in Spain, then you can. So if you've got a legal residency and you're already here and you've got a platform to work from and you are here legally, then there shouldn't be any reason why you can't do that. But again, I mean,
he says tax is the answer to that question. Why would you want to? Difference in tax. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
That's a good point, isn't it? Because now, if it does mention that if you're already fiscally resident here, then you can't take advantage of the non-resident tax. So being self-employed, you'd already be fiscally resident here, so you wouldn't be able to take advantage of that. But we're going to leave that to the tax guys to answer, aren't we?
Yes, that's an interesting point. Yeah,
we'll
save that for the tax show. Yeah, we've got loads more stuff to answer about this. Yeah. Here we go. Sarah's asking, what are the minimum earnings and the capital needed for the digital nomad visa, please? That's
We
not been
don't know
published
exactly yet, to be honest. True, it's not been published yet. They're talking about there's this thing called the salario interprofesional, mínimo salario interprofesional. It's interprofessional salary. So I think we'll find out a bit more towards that towards the end of March. It might be published a bit earlier. So I'm sure there's going to be a minimum salaried amount and a minimum earned amount. You know,
Rumours on the internet. Rumours on the internet say between 2,000 and 3,000, minimum 2,000, somewhere up to 3,000. But
it's less than that. The salario interprofesional is less than that. But I would say that it's all rumours at the moment. But you know what we've got to look at is Spain is looking at investment. It wants people here, you know, albeit, you know, who are earning salaries and professionals, and to attract business. So it's not going to be low, is it?
There we go. Yogi says, will we still be able to go through Upsticks to apply for a digital nomad visa?
I hope so. Yes, you will. Yeah, we're here looking at this now. You know, with fine-tooth comb. I must admit, I have to admit, until earlier on this week, I hadn't looked at it because we have been in Christmas period. But yeah, no, we're going to be keeping an eye on everything and making sure that we structure a service product around it. And you know, essentially, it's there already. You know, you do golden visas. You know, so you do that on the platform, and you have a list of the requirements and what you need, and then you put that on the platform and wait for the approval to come through. So I think it's going to be a lot more beneficial for people to probably organise themselves to be able to do it from within Spain. Because you have a monetary saving, and also the longevity of the residency is going to be better.
Good stuff. Right, back to the questions. Can you bring your spouse or your partner and your children and parents?
You can bring your spouse, your partner, your spouse and your children. Parents, not too sure yet. People do bring parents in on the Golden Visa platform. We'd have to look at that and what proof we'd have to present. Spouse and children, I'd imagine it would be making sure you can meet the financial requirements to cover them, because I'm sure there'll be a scale for the amount of people that you're bringing in, like there is with all residencies. And then evidently the documentation that's generally required, you know, all consulates and applications here, like marriage certificates and birth certificates, duly translated and legalized.
Yeah. And I think that needs to be dependent children under a certain age, under 18s, or dependent children in education. I think there's a few years leeway there.
Yeah, up to 21, I think it is, and even more if you can prove that they're in professional studies, maybe. And then we get into the realms of now, even like with partners, people have civil partnerships. That tends to be fine. We've done a lot of NLVs on civil partnerships, so that's that at the moment. I don't think we've done any goldens on a civil partnership, to be honest. I don't know, but no, we haven't. But obviously, if you're a partner with children in common, you know, is there going to be problems there? They're going to see a marriage certificate. It's all stuff that's going to have to come out.
And I did see mention that you can bring in parents if they're dependent, but that is proving that your parents are dependent on you is a tricky one, and it might even be grandparents. You know, if you're coming in on a working visa.
It's quite tricky because if it's parents or grandparents, they could be medically or financially dependent. One of the two, you know. So, but proving they are, you know, it's again, there's no sort of set structure to the documents, but you could get certificates from a Spanish doctor. We did it once with one under the withdrawal agreement, actually. Where one father came and he was here already, but we managed to get him certificates from a doctor in Spain to prove that he couldn't be on his own. He had nowhere else to live. So.
And I had a quick question saying, will your family be security checked too? That's an obvious one, isn't it, really?
Yes, yeah, obviously. They'll children, minors, I don't think get security checked, but everybody who comes in gets a security check. We don't have to provide if you're coming from the UK, for example, is an ACRO criminal records for a minor under 18. Okay, so Spain will do its relevant checks, but you wouldn't have to provide that.
Yeah, great stuff. Quick question from Hello Stockholm. This one's for me. Hopefully I'll be utilising Upsticks for the Digital Nomad Visa soon. Yes, you do that. And when will you be covering tax? Is that talk booked in yet? It is, with Brett Hanson, who did a tax show. If you've seen the video I did on tax, I don't know, it's probably a year old now, but he's coming back on the show, and I think it's 3 weeks' time, and yes, it is booked in. He's confirmed that he's going to be on the show. There you go. So thanks for asking about that. How long then, Chris, will it take to get a response? Have they said how many days it takes?
So I read here on your notes, and I was trying to pull this off last night. I think they said something like 7 days, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I read here.
That's very quick.
I read here. I'll be honest with you, I've got to pull that out of this big mess of paperwork here, because I thought I'd seen 60, and I read on your notes yesterday that you've written down 70 from the translations.
Yeah. And it says if they've not responded within 7 days, then you're in. Then treat it like you've been accepted. But that sounds
which is very strange, because here the administrative law is if you haven't heard within 90 days, and you can consider it dismissed. But then we know what happened in summer was there was loads of applications across all platforms went over the 90 days, and when immigration was contacted, they just said, well, we're busy, so that just goes out the window basically.
Yeah.
To have an automatic approval after 7 days is the opposite to what it normally is.
That I don't know if I was reading a translation of the Spanish, so it may have been slightly mistranslated, or I may have not read it properly. It's all in legal jargon anyway. So
I'll be honest with you, that's something I didn't write in my notes. I don't think I got down to that one. That's one for me to look at until I get back to you.
There we go. That's one for the future. So will people get an NIE number and a TIE card, and how will you get those?
Yeah, so you'll get if you haven't already got an NIE number, then you'll be assigned an NIE number when you get your approval. So either with your visa or with your approval letter if you apply within Spain. And then after that, you will need to go and register for your TIE card. I think I showed you this earlier on, but for those of you who have done golden visas, you'll know, and people who've done non-lucrative visas, the application forms are completely different when you go to the extranjería. So this is actually this is what one looks like for a golden visa, for example. And at the top here, you can see all the different types of residencies which come with international mobility law, okay, which now, part of the getting ready on the 31st of March, would be an extra box here for digital nomads. So basically, when you have got your visa approved, you would be going along with this and a tax 790 document and registering it at your local extranjería, and then you'll get a TIE card. And the TIE cards, as with all TIE cards, it has all the conditions on it under which you're here. So, for example, mine says withdrawal agreement. Liz's would say EU family member, so it gives authorization to work. And NLVs say doesn't authorize you to work. So at the back of it, you will show the type of authorization that you've got.
Good stuff. And presumably once you've been accepted, just like any of the other visas, you'll have to keep on fulfilling the requirements of the visa and the residency as long as it's been agreed that you can stay. Yes. Yeah.
As with all residencies.
Yeah. Brilliant. That was my last question that I had written down. Is there anything we've missed out? Anything else we know about it?
No, I think that's it for now. Really well there, 59 minutes. Look at that.
Yeah. Perfect.
I think it's a case now. Just watch this space. I think it's it's a big move. I mean, it could be sometimes. I'll be honest. It can be from a personal perspective when you're at the battling edge of immigration and they ask you for really stupid bits of paper for somebody quite evidently has got a lot of money for a non-lucrative visa, and then you see this, you think, well, why do you ask me for all those stupid things when these people be investing as well? That's but you've got to take yourself away from that. And look at it as a massive positive thing for Spain. It's bringing themselves digitally into the new world, and hopefully a lot of people can take advantage of that of this and come and live in Spain. It's definitely gonna for us it's gonna plug a massive gap that we have at the moment for people who want to come and live in Spain. So we'll be keeping a close eye on all the relevant websites, etc., to see how they're progressing with their information.
Brilliant. So everyone, in a moment I'll tell you what's on the show next week, but before that, let's say a massive thank you to Chris. Give him a big virtual hug for being so helpful, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time when we're going to be talking about cars.
Yes, yeah, car one. We love cars.
Yeah, brilliant. So thanks so much, Chris. Been brilliant as usual. Speak to you soon.
Speak soon. Cheers.
Bye for now. There we go. So if you've got any more questions, people on the live chat, thank you, by the way, to everybody on the live chat. There's been some excellent questions. And put any more questions in the comments rather than on the live chat, because once the show's over, I can't see the live chat anymore. And we will answer those for you at some point very soon. By the way, don't forget to click on the like button, just to say that you've liked the show and that you've got information from it that's worthwhile to you. And if you hadn't subscribed already, then do that, because and click on the notifications bell as well and select all, because then you'll get notifications when each show is coming up, and also each midweek video or short, the YouTube shorts that I do as well. And yes, so do all that. Next Saturday then, we have a much anticipated guest, and I say we have this guest, I'm really hoping, because she's not confirmed yet. She had family situation going on before Christmas, and that's why we delayed this show. But this is all about self-employment. This is much anticipated show. There's a Spanish lawyer called Lucia, and she helped a non-EU citizen apply successfully for the self-employment visa. So we'll be talking to her about that, and hopefully we'll have on some people who are also applying for self-employment visas. These are all very individual, so we need to speak to a few people on that show as well. And hopefully we'll have the person on that Lucia helped to get that visa as well. So hopefully that we're going to have quite a few people on the show to talk about their experience. And a lot of you have been asking about that. So ask your questions in advance. If you want to ask them now on the Facebook group, then do that. And I will see you, all of you lovely people on the live chat. Bon continuación, says Anton Kez. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Regular time of 9 o'clock if you're in the UK or Ireland, or 10 o'clock if you're in Spain or Central Europe. And I think it's 9 o'clock if you're in the Canaries. Slightly different time zone there. Or Portugal. There we go. Wherever you are, join us next week. Don't forget about the free yoga that you can get online. This is not something that you get free very often, but meditation classes as well. My lovely wife Liz has a YouTube channel called YouTube Yoga and Aromatherapy. The link is below in the video description, with lots of other ones. Make sure you use those links, because you can get discounts and all kinds of stuff. Soon there'll be a link there to get discounts on getting your teeth done. Look at these. I'm getting these completed over the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to be making a video all about that and talking to the dentists there and interviewing them, just to see what you can get in Spain cheaper than you can get in the UK, and how that compares to everywhere else. And quick question from Oleg there. When will the information about the requirements for Digital Nomad appear on your site? On the website, what I think I'll do is do a blog article fairly soon, this coming week, Oleg. And I'll just write down everything that we've said on this show and put it in smaller smaller writing. No, I'll just paraphrase everything and put all that we've said in there, so you can look at that really easily. And also I'll be doing chapter headings for this video, so that you can skip through and you'll be able to find the answers to the questions that you need. So that's all for this week. Someone pass around the low carb snacks. I've gone back onto low carb. I've got some weight to lose. I've put on far too much. Had some chocolate. Naughty Skatz. So there you go. Peace and love and goodwill to you all. Let's have goodwill all year, shall we? Not just at Christmas. So one more cosmic dance before we go. And you're going to join me in the dance? Let's do it then. Bye for now. See you soon.